Hey, Todd Burrier from toddburrier.com. Do you ever make assumptions? Do you ever make assumptions in your life? Do you ever make assumptions in your network marketing business? I know that's actually one of those redundant questions. Of course you do. You can't help it. And the reason you can't help it is that assumptions are natural. They're part of how we learn. They're part of how our brains store information. Remember, you got this supercomputer in your skull that has a lot of stuff stored in it. Like everything you've ever done in your life is stored in there. And the way it uses assumptions is it's how it makes connections, right? It establishes certain things, right? Your brain establishes certain things that take place in your life and they become platform truths, and then you no longer have to consider it. So you have if this, then that. That's locked in, and then something else will sit on top of that. That's how your brain stores information. And so it's how you make connections. And so that's how you form assumptions. And so there's nothing wrong with assumptions. The problem is acting on assumptions. That's the problem. And acting on assumptions limits you in several different ways in your network marketing business. So this message is really to help you understand where you might be making assumptions so you can stop acting on them and question them. You want to question your own assumptions. First of all, you got a bunch of assumptions about yourself, most of which are incorrect. About what you're capable of or what you're not capable of, or about, what your limitations are, or all that stuff. I mean, man, we have so many false assumptions that were placed by someone else into our brain. But this isn't even about that. That's a separate topic. It's just to give you some understanding that assumptions having a big impact in your life. And so one thing you can know, think about a conversation that you had just in the last day, where you're sitting there talking to somebody and they're talking and you're going back and forth and they go to say something and you answer what they were going to say, right? Why? Because you assumed you knew what they were going to say and you were wrong. I bet you can think of one in the last day where you did that and you were wrong. And that's something to remember. We are wrong often in our assumptions because they're based on our lens, our experience, our world, and we're dealing with other people that have nothing to do with that. Okay? And so here's 5 areas that these are hurting you in your business. And I want you to know them so you can be aware of them so you can stop them right now. So the first one is we make assumptions building our list. Right? I mean, don't we? Right? No matter how much someone like me who teaches true list building would talk to you, you still make an assumption. You go to write that person down, you're like, they're not going to be interested. They make too much money. Or they know too much about this and this, or that. Stop it. You don't know. You have no idea, right? You don't know half. Actually, you don't know a fraction of what you think about that person. What you do know is if you take them off their list, you have no chance to them apply to your numbers. A percentage of your list is going to use your product or your service or get involved. How big do you want that to equate to in an actual number? If your list is 10 people and the percentage is 10%, that's one person. If your list is 1,000, that's 100. If your list is 10,000, that's 1,000. It's just mathematics, right? So why would you eliminate anyone from your list, right? So think about it. So set your assumption aside. Put the name down. You're going to contact them, which brings you to your second one, making the contact. That's the second area assumptions come in, right? Because maybe we went ahead and did what I just said, and we put every single person we ever could think about and potentially have access. We did my target to create our list, and we've got the list, but now we got to make the contacts, and now it all comes back again. Oh, this person wouldn't be interested. Oh, they're doing this. Oh, they're going through this in their life. Oh, that's happening. Oh, I'm only here, and they wouldn't want to talk to me until I'm here. Stop it. You don't know, all right? You're making that up. That's all in your skull. That's not in the real world. Remember, you will absolutely miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Someone who fears failure but doesn't take a step because they fear failure has guaranteed the thing they fear. So interesting, right? So don't do it. You're going to make assumptions, set them aside. You have one job. Make the contact, make the offer in a nice way. They're either open or they're not. Doesn't matter what you assume. And I promise you, often you're going to think someone's not going to be interested and they are. And often you're going to think someone is going to be interested and they're not, right? Because you're going to make those assumptions. I'm just telling you, that's how it's going to work. And so you can send me a message and go, you were right, or you just keep that to yourself. Okay, so third is in your story. This is another place we make assumptions. So once you've told your story a bunch of times, it's easy to start leaving stuff out, right? You can start leaving stuff out and assuming, well, it's not important to put that detail in, or, I don't want to make it too long, because you've heard it so many times, you start to think, well, this person isn't going to want to hear all that. When in fact, the more details you leave out, the worse your story is. So if you're going to make an error on the side of telling your story in too much detail, as opposed to not enough detail. Now, this doesn't apply to explaining a product. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the emotional connection and the journey you take someone on when you tell your story. When you do that right, you want to make every detail vivid, right? That matters. So assuming they won't want a detail, you don't know. You don't know which detail they might go, oh, whoa, that really got me. You don't know. And so if you leave it out, you leave it out. And not to mention, you make the story less interesting. So that's the third place that you make assumptions that are hurting you. The fourth is in follow-up. Really easy to make assumptions in following up because someone is not responding to you, right? So that's pretty normal, right? It happens all the time where, you got back to the person when you said you would, but they didn't answer the phone and they didn't call you back. And then you start going through the whole thing in your skull, why they're probably not interested, or they probably just didn't want to say no to me, or they probably talked to somebody else and now they think I'm an idiot, or no. Remember, your urgency is not their urgency. I mean, it can be sometimes. Someone can have a big urgency to solve a problem, in which case you don't have to worry about it. They'll be right there. But most of the time, they got a life going on too, and they got stuff going on in their life. And so, yeah, they might be real interested, but they just, at this moment, they can't talk to you about it. And so don't make assumptions. Just keep working the process in a nice, honest way and doing your follow-up professionally. And you will be better served to do that. And then the fifth place that you make assumptions is in sponsoring. So there's a couple of different areas here. One is sponsoring someone who's accomplished something already. It's pretty easy to assume they'll know what to do. They don't. Right? They don't. They just because someone is a successful attorney or a doctor or a salesman or a plumber, I don't care what they're successful in, does not translate. Their credibility might translate a little bit so that people are more likely to listen to them, but nothing else does. This is different. Okay, so don't assume they know anything, right? Don't assume they know anything. That is such a huge, huge mistake when we sponsor. And then another area is that we assume people understood what we said. No, remember, people don't like to look dumb. And so a lot of times people just go, any of you have been in any kind of management position in your life, you've seen this happen, where you had someone new in your charge who you were talking to and you shared what something needed to be done. They're like, okay, yeah, I got it. Because they didn't want to ask a question and look dumb. And then they go off and the thing doesn't happen or it happens wrong. And you're like, what happened? We talked about it. I'm like, well, I didn't really understand how to. And they don't ask, right? So you can't make any assumptions at all with the people that you sponsor. You can't assume that they'll know what to do. You can't assume that they already know all about certain things. You can't make any assumptions. You have to go in a blank slate. And then you will better serve people. So the power of this message for you is awareness, because you've been doing this already. And so it's to help you not do it at all. No assumptions, because you just don't know. Okay, so next time you go to do it, catch yourself and say, that's what Todd was saying. I can't do that. I got to just go do this, right? So hope that's helpful for you. If you have yet to get my 27 scripts that really work to help you consistently sponsor, head over to toddbury.com and put in your email and get the free download. It's an audio download, and you can then drop it on an MP3 player and listen to it over and over and over. That's how I became a master prospector, as I figured out how I was going to do it and listened to training over and over and over and did it over, did it. So that'll be helpful for you. Hey, hope you appreciate the message. Have a great rest of the day. Feel free to share this.